Hi, my name is Katarina Vance, and this is my Module 3 Interpersonal Communication assignment for Communication in Journalism 300, Communicating Ethics. The focus of this assignment is the dark side of interpersonal communication. And what is the dark side, you may ask? Well, it's best to start by sort of defining interpersonal communication, which can be broken down into four main principles that, as described by Donald King, are that 1, interpersonal communication is inescapable, meaning that we're always communicating, even when we're not aware of it, like when we're sleeping, or even when we don't want to be communicating. And 2, interpersonal communication is irreversible, meaning that we can never take back something that we have already communicated. And 3, interpersonal communication is complicated because there are, by nature, many variables present when communicating, such as who you think you are versus who others think you are, and many other variables. And finally, the 4th principle is that interpersonal communication is contextual, so things such as the environment that you're in or your own cultural influences and those of people that you're communicating with are very important. And with those principles in mind, the dark side of interpersonal communication would be the aspects of interpersonal communication which can potentially be destructive and harmful. These include behaviors such as lying, jealousy, and gossiping. Now, I'd like to focus on lying, which is defined as occurring when a communicator knowingly chooses to mislead others, which sets it apart from something just being untrue. And I find it to be a very interesting part of the dark side of interpersonal communication because it's an incredibly prevalent behavior, with one study by DiPaolo finding that out of a sample of students, on average, they reported lying 1.96 times a day. And however, while lying is something that I think it's safe to say that we've all done and do relatively regularly, as shown by that study, lies are viewed typically by most people in a very negative light. And this is unsurprising because the difference between whether a behavior is intentional or sincere is very important to our ethical assessments of various behaviors, because people are generally going to be forgiving of genuine mistakes, while on the other hand, people would be more likely to find morally questionable behaviors that are committed intentionally to be unethical. And an interesting example of the dark side of lying is shown in this video about this sort of domino effect that intentionally misrepresenting how good your life is in posts on social media can have. So here's that video. I find this example of the dark side of lying in this video to be very interesting because it shows that to have a dark side behavior doesn't necessarily have to be considered unethical, because I think, and I believe most people would agree, that lying about how happy and healthy you are on social media isn't an absolutely unethical thing to do. It lies in more of a sort of gray area. This really emphasizes that things like small lies that seem relatively harmless can still have a rather dark side and negatively affect a lot of people. To conclude, the dark side of interpersonal communication consists of communicative behaviors that can be harmful, such as lying and gossiping. And while things like telling small lies might seem harmless, they can still have a negative impact, which goes to show just how fickle and difficult interpersonal communication can be.